You can move to your seats. We'll get started because we've got people online waiting for 11:15. If I could get the ministers to find chairs. What's that? Okay. Kevin, will you hand these out as people? And we're live. We're live. Good morning again, and welcome to our extra shot. I'll let everybody find their chairs as we do that. We decided to do today's on spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer because it's kind of the core of our teaching as we go along with things and work with it. And it was interesting doing a little bit of extra research. I wanted to expand outside of the box a bit as we take a look at the five steps and see how we can make them work to enhance our own spiritual lives. I also used the word KISS. I don't know if anybody has been around sales. I mentioned it last time. It's keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, salesperson. Well, I decided to say keep it simple spiritually, because sometimes we overcomplicate things. Buddha said, with our thoughts, we make the world. And in our teaching, we also use change your thinking, change your mind. And a lot of people have looked at the same thing. James Allen wrote the book, As a Man Thinketh, which goes along the same way. Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, which wasn't really about money, which most people don't know because they didn't get to the end of the book. They read like halfway through and kind of moved on from that. I think it's important that we take a look at staying fit spiritually. You know, I think COVID got us physically in some ways, where we weren't quite as physical as we were before COVID. And we all know that exercise, for all of us, keeps us in better shape, keeping our mind shaped by doing different things. Well, it's the same thing spiritually. And it's not you just get there and you're there forever. You kind of need to practice it along the way. I mean, kind of practice what we preach, but we don't really call it preaching here. So that's why I want to take a look at this. And one of the things to take a look at also was that Ernest Holmes said to think is to create. And if you think about anything that you know about that we have, it started somewhere with thought. You know, the master teacher, Jesus, said, I do these things and you will do even more than I do. Well, we have. He never flew in a plane, if you want to look at it on the basic levels. You know, he never took a steamboat. And it's not always the big thing like we're all raising people from the dead. And all those things I mentioned and other things, the buildings we have, those kind of things all started with some thought somewhere. Flight started with Orville and Wilbur Wright and Kitty Hawk, which I guess they have a memorial there or something for them. My nephew just went because he's a pilot now. It's important to know that everything in our lives started somewhere with thought. And we have control over that thought. Hiccups. We have control over that thought. And we're always talking to ourselves. Or, look at it this way, we're always talking to God because we're not separate as we work with it. So it's important as we talk to ourselves that we talk in a positive way. And the only way to really do that the most, Dennis Merritt Jones, in one of his books, used the word aware, or words, aware, aware, aware. And it's important that we are aware of what we're thinking. It's important to stop a couple times a day and be aware of what we're thinking. Are we thinking, poor me? Are we thinking I'm going to be ill again, or I'm going to have this disease, or whatever it is? If we're thinking that way, we can change the way that thinking is, and we can change and be accepting of the fact that it can be different. It starts with that, willing to be willing. We use a lot of times in this teaching. It isn't going to happen tomorrow, necessarily. It could. Affirmative prayer is not a supplication or petition, but recognition and acceptance that God is all there is. And there's no spot where God is not. We are all spiritual beings here and now, and all that abundance of the universe is already ours if we accept and embody it. And that's the first step in spiritual mind treatment, is to recognize that. It's not just the words. Words are powerful, but when you read more and more about it, it's about the feeling of it. And that recognition starts on a daily basis with realizing that everything came from it. And recognize also that there's some concepts with God that are hard for us to really, truly understand. Infinity, we intellectually know what infinity is. No beginning, no end. But do we really, can we really get to that point of knowing it? You know, we know that love is there, but we can't touch it. There's a lot of those things that are out there, and we just accept those things, and we go with the feeling with it. You know, our idea of prayer is not so much asking God for things as it is believing that we already have the things we need. Prayer is an acceptance of a thing before we get it. As I was going through some research for this, I found a phrase, and I thought it was kind of clever, and I don't know who wrote it, but it said, "I laugh every time I hear that the fish in the ocean are thirsty." We're in the ocean. All this stuff is out there. I mean, Rumi said we're not an ocean in a drop. We're not a drop in the ocean. We're an ocean in a drop. And it's expanding our minds somewhat that way, because it's real easy to say the words. It's real easy in this teaching to understand things intellectually. And by changing how we do things, we can start to change how we are open to things by understanding what it is. And we'll talk about different things in treatment here too. Can you hit that next slide there? Actually, Debbie found this, and I thought it was a good way to start off with looking at God. God is consciousness, not a creator. God is the source of creation itself. It, not he or she, it is not independent of you. It is not independent of you. That's a big concept also. It is the totality of everything. So when I call myself God, I'm not talking about my personal self. I'm talking about the expression of the God self that rests inside of me. The verb, the energy, not the noun. We were brought up with God as a noun. God's on a, cloud up there, white robes, all that kind of stuff. Once you think God is a noun, person, place, or thing, you separate yourself from it and immediately become a limited being. That's what separates the beliefs, religion, from the knowers, spiritual. That's a big thing. And it's one of those things that in prayer, we were taught to pray and plead for something. With most of us coming up with it. We were that God, first off, is a him, and to look at it being energy, which we can, you can get a little more scientific and say everything is moving all the time. No atom is touching anything here. It's all moving. Everything is consciously moving. And thoughts are things. And that's what helps to change things from it. In Carol Carn's reading today, I think it was said the same way. Many times we use spiritual mind treatment like old-fashioned prayer, forgetting that its purpose is to change our mind, not the mind of some deity in the sky. So this in the first step, which you see on your sheets there, is what we do in spiritual mind treatment, but I also challenge everybody that it is what we can do in life, and it opens the doors for lots of things for us. Opens our minds, but you don't just get there once. It's a constant thing. It's like exercise. It's like reading. It's like learning things. It's a constant thing to do, and we're going to go forwards and backwards with it. We might think we're spiritually great right here today, coming out of this with great music and stuff like that, and a good talk, but we may, by this afternoon, be going, oh, that happened again. And it's stopping ourselves and seeing that. So that's how I'm looking at taking the steps here and using it in our daily lives. The next step here is unity. Or what are they calling it here? I didn't get a sheet. Unification. Well, the slide we had up here, we're not separate. We're the same thing, just a different level of it. that we're all one thing, we're all with this one energy, this one consciousness. And again, it's one of those things where you stop and think about it. Like Dennis says, aware, aware, aware. And once you can do this on a daily basis where you are recognizing and expanding outside of what we think with things like, that God is infinite, everything came from there, and it is not a noun. It is energy. It's a verb. That's one I don't think I've seen before. I thought that was an interesting way to put it. God is a verb. Spirit is a verb, whatever somebody wants to call it. It is a verb. If you look in the dictionary, I'm sure it's got a noun definition. Yeah. So I think that's an important piece. That opens you up for lots of other things. It opens you up for as a man thinketh, or change your thinking, change your mind, because that you can do consciously. I think I've got a little piece here as we get into realization that was actually in, whose book was this? It's a book like 365, but it's a daily thing where this person has put these together. Oh, and this is where I found it. I laugh when I hear the fish in the water is thirsty. That's by Kabir. This I'm using partially because I'm in real estate, and second because to me it really shows what we're looking for when we're looking for what we're treating for. When a coaching client asked me to help her manifest her dream home, I asked her to describe it to me. My dream home is a house on a hill surrounded by tall trees with an ocean view. Great, I replied. What feeling does this house give you? Security, she answered. And the hill? The hill would show me perspective. Excellent. And the trees? Well, the trees represent growth. Now your ocean view? Well, the ocean tunes me to expansiveness. Perfect. So you're really looking for security, perspective, growth, and expansiveness. That's right. Well, if you feel all those experiences, would you really need the house? I guess it wouldn't matter. I was not trying to talk my client out of her house. Rather, I was trying to show her a shortcut to what she really wanted. Because we are spiritual beings at our core, it is the feeling of a particular experience that we crave. If my client got the house but not the feeling she sought, she would have remained unsatisfied. If she got the feelings, no matter what, the house came or not, she would have been deeply satisfied. Be aware of the experience you seek and cultivate it right where you are now. Then you'll be amazed at the manifestations that follow. What do you want? What do you really want? Or like the Spice Girls say, what do you really, really want? I immerse myself in the feeling of my heart's desire, and manifestations come naturally. As I was working toward getting my practitioner license, that was kind of the secret step, I thought. On my panels, you have to do a spiritual mind treatment. And one of the people on the panels had pulled something really bad on the back of her leg. And in talking to her, I knew that she liked to be by the ocean, running with her dog, feeling that energy coming from the ocean. So did she really just want this to heal or but to heal? I treated for her, I saw her, the truth for her, running by the ocean with her dog, feeling that sea breeze, feeling that energy of the ocean. So I think that's a different perspective sometimes than just saying, okay, I want a good job. Well, what do you want with a job? So whenever you look at something, look at what you really are getting to. You want a good job? Well, I want to be able to pay my bills and not think about it. I want to be satisfied in what I'm doing with it. And ultimately, you somewhere along the line get to freedom. You get to joy. You get to love with it. So, we go through all these things, but we go step by step into it. Reverend Debbie's got a thing on her leg that we're treating at the wound clinic, and I don't treat for that wound to heal. I treat for her to be able to take a bath, because she likes taking baths, and to walk in the ocean again in Carlsbad. She can't do that right now, but that's what it is. To get there, it just has to heal. Now, has it healed as quickly as you thought? Didn't matter. Time is nothing. It will be there. It will be in the ocean. And that's kind of the way that is even when you're looking for stuff yourself. This is why a practitioner is good if maybe you can't see where you want to be, because people come to us, I want my leg to heal. I want this to happen. I want my son to do such and such. Well, what do you really want with your son getting off of drugs, if that's what it was? Well, you're looking for a feeling yourself. You're looking for comfort. You're looking for security that they're okay. Peace. love, joy. I mean, it all comes back to, I want the freedom from not having to worry about them every night when I go to bed. So it's just a case of kind of, doing that. And I remember the first time, Debbie used the Spice Girls on the what do you really, really want. It's really true. It's getting down to it, getting to where you are. It's, that's a real main ingredient of the secret sauce here, is doing that. So you can take all kinds of things and say, well, I want that car. I really would like to have that car. Well, what do you want with that car? Well, I want the feeling of being in it. I want the smell of the leather. I want, the freedom it gives to help me go wherever I want to. That I don't have to worry about it breaking down. I want the feeling of if somebody sees me, they think I'm successful. You kind of look for those things in yourself, and like Ernest says, everyone is a practitioner. Some of us just have licenses. So we can all treat ourselves. And he talked about that in his textbook and all of his other books also. So that's really an important piece of it. So I really encourage everybody, as you're thinking of things you want, as you know you can get into the consciousness, look at what you're really looking for and take a couple of steps back. And if you can't quite get there, reach out to a practitioner, because that's one of our jobs, is to help you see where you want to go, or help you decide where you want to go and what you're really looking for with it. The next one is Thanksgiving. And that's an easier one. And I think Debbie was talking about it in her talk today. If you start each day thinking about what you're thankful for, the simplest things, it's hard to stop. When you wake up in the morning, I'm thankful for my spouse. I'm thankful for my dogs. I'm thankful for this bed that's comfortable right now. I'm thankful that as the wind is howling outside, I'm inside where it's warm. And you continue and continue. It's very easy to continue with that one. And when you're looking at spiritual mind treatment, when you're looking for something, you can be thankful for something that is unfolding itself to you. I'm thankful for that feeling of security. I'm thankful for that freedom. I'm thankful for that love. I'm thankful for the job that I've got. I'm thankful for walking through the ocean, those kind of things. So the more you can get yourself there in the feeling part of it, and it's not a one and done. It's one of those things where you keep working toward it, because, as she said, sometimes life is happening. And again, we use that term, willing to be willing. But if you can step by step get there, or take a look back at where you've done this and didn't know you were doing it. We've all done some of that. I mean, I came out of, before Debbie and I got back together, I was in sales and training salespeople. And part of what my thing to do was to help them lift their value. I had agents that would, they'd make this much money and kind of be done for the year, because they didn't think their value was up here. And so that was a piece of helping them lift themselves up. So I was doing some of this stuff without knowing that it had a scientific background to it. But I heard it from all kinds of other people. Like I said, Think and Grow Rich and those kind of things. These concepts have been around in so many different ways with it that it was fun to do that. Dennis Waitley did something called the Neuropsychology of Achievement, I believe it was. Back when you had cassette tapes. I don't know if anybody remembers those anymore. And you'd buy the tapes after the talk. But his thing was you laid down and you tensed that part of your body and thought about what you're feeling. And then as you let that tension go, you got used to that feeling of relaxation, of feeling that, and you went with different parts of your body. It's all this stuff is whatever's new is old again, or whatever they go with that. It's just a very important piece of that. So Thanksgiving is one that, even if you're not looking for something, you're out walking, you're driving along, just stop again and be aware of what you're thankful for. That's another way to bring this into it. And the last one's probably the toughest for most of us, and that's to release and let it happen, because we are so used to thinking we are in control of our lives. We think we're in control. Once in a while we are, but most of the time we're not. And when it's something that was really a big thing, it's important to put it out there, release it, and allow it to come in, because sometimes we're putting up a wall by trying to be so controlling of it. And sometimes we are too specific because we didn't go through down through what do we really, really want with it. So you can have that feeling of freedom, you can have that feeling of love without necessarily having that thing you're talking about. Now, you may have pain from the leg broken and stuff like that, but the more you work toward that, the more it enhances your body's ability to heal. And we all know that different things heal in a body at different stages or in different speeds. So I had a cracked rib from falling on the ice 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was. And I knew that some things heal faster. You know, something might heal faster for some reason, so I was just accepting of that. And I know for sure that it healed faster than it might have otherwise, because I allowed that to happen with it. I wasn't always feeling good, but you know, it was just kind of allowing that to happen, allowing that new job to come, allowing that new, you know, I mean, I watch people with looking for relationships. And the harder they are, the harder it is to have one. You know, to have one, but all of a sudden, if you let it go, something shows up one day and works with that. So it's really important to release and to trust and have faith, as was talked about earlier today. And that you build on also. It's not like you do one thing and, well, I've got faith, or, you know, it's got to be here. It's one of those building pieces, and sometimes you're going to step backwards. You know, people that work out, they work out, and if they take off a week, they got to go back and kind of start from a couple steps back. And we all have to do that also in this, because like I said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's just taking steps by steps. Anybody have any thoughts? I didn't want to take up 45 minutes because I was trying to keep it simple.
Testimonies?
Testimonies? From me?
No.
Oh, sure.
Well, I thought of one.
I'm going to have to give you this because they can't hear you online.
I thought of one in terms of, you know, how affirmative prayer can work for a person. And last winter I fell on my hip on a patch of ice, and it was having a hard time going away, and it was getting a little bit worse. And so, in St. Louis, no, it was 2 winters ago, I took it to I put it in the prayer box at the Center for Spiritual Living, and they do the prayers every Tuesday. And the next week, I went and I didn't know that it was on Tuesdays, but by Tuesday, it was gone. And I told that to the minister there, and he says, yeah, we do the prayers every Tuesday. So that was cool. So sometimes it helps to have somebody else pray for you.
That's exactly right. That's what that's practitioners are for here and other places, because sometimes, you know, the practitioner can see something you can't, or approach it from a little different standpoint. Any other comments, questions? Well, I appreciate everybody taking some time today to listen to that. And I know we have a few people going to watch this on later, so enjoy your day and live the steps every day. Thanks.